Today we're reading out of As Bill Sees It, the references to frustration, and we start out on page 1. It has often been said of AA that we are interested only in alcoholism. That is not true. We have to get over drinking in order to stay alive, but anyone who knows the alcoholic personally, by first-hand contact, knows that no true alkie will ever stop drinking permanently without undergoing a profound personality change. We thought conditions drove us to drink. When we tried to correct these conditions and found that we couldn't do so to our entire satisfaction, our drinking went out of hand and we became alcoholics. It never occurred to us that we needed to change ourselves to meet conditions, whatever they were. Our next reference is 22.
Page 22, fear is a stepping stone. The chief activator of our defects has been self-centered fear. Primarily fear that we would lose something we already possessed or would fail to get something we demanded. Living upon a basis of unsatisfied demand, we were in a state of continual disturbance and frustration. Therefore, no peace was to be had unless we could find a means of reducing these demands. For all its usual destructiveness, we have found that fear can be the starting point for better things. Fear can be a stepping stone to prudence and to a decent respect for others. It can point the path to justice as well as to hate. And the more we have of respect and justice, the more we shall begin to find the love, which can suffer much and yet be freely given. So fear need not always be destructive, because the lessons of its consequences can lead us to positive values.
Okay, our next reading is on 40. Material achievement. No member of AA wants to deprecate
there you go.
material achievement, nor do we enter into debate with the many who cling to the belief that to satisfy our basic natural desires is the main object of life. But we are sure that no class of people in the world have ever made a worse mess of trying to live by this formula than alcoholics. We demand more, we demand more than our share of security, prestige, and romance. When we seem to be succeeding, we drank to dream still greater dreams. When we were frustrated, even in part, we drank for oblivion. In all these strivings, so many of them well-intentioned, our crippling handicap was our lack of humility. We lacked the perspective to see that character building and spiritual values had to come first, and that material satisfactions were simply byproducts and not the chief aims of life. Okay, 63, free of dependence.
Okay, page 63, free of dependence. I asked myself, why can't the 12 steps work to release me from this unbearable depression? By the hour, I stared at the St. Francis prayer. It is better to comfort than to be comforted. Suddenly, I realized what the answer might be. My basic flaw had always been dependence on people or circumstances to supply me with prestige, security, and confidence. Failing to get these things according to my perfectionist dreams and specifications, I fought for them. And when defeat came, so did my depression. Reinforced by what grace I could find in prayer, I had to exert every ounce of will and action to cut off these faulty emotional dependencies upon people and upon circumstances. Then only could I be free to love as Francis had loved.
Okay. 111. Surveying the past. We should make an accurate and really exhaustive survey of our past life as it has affected other people. In many instances, we shall find that though the harm done to others has not been great, we have nevertheless done ourselves considerable emotional injury. Then, too, damaging emotional conflicts persist below the level of consciousness, very deep, sometimes quite forgotten. Therefore, we should try hard to recall and review those past events which originally induced these conflicts and which continue to give our emotions violent twists, thus discoloring our personalities and altering our lives for the worse. We react more strongly to frustrations than normal people. By reliving these episodes and discussing them in strict confidence with somebody else, we can reduce their size and therefore their potency in the unconscious. 131.
Ooh, that's one of my favorites. 131, obstacles in our path. We live in a world riddled with envy. To a greater or lesser degree, everybody is infected with it. From this defect, we must surely get a warped yet definite satisfaction. Else, why would we consume so much time wishing for what we have not, rather than working for it, or angrily looking for attributes we shall never have, instead of adjusting to the fact and accepting it? Each of us would like to live at peace with himself and with his fellows. We would like to be assured that the grace of God can do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. We have seen the character defects based upon short-sighted or unworthy desires are the obstacles that block our path towards these objectives. We now clearly see that we have been making unreasonable demands upon ourselves, upon others, and upon God.
Okay. 135. Victory in defeat. Convinced I could belong and vowing I'd never settle for any second-rate status, I felt I simply had to dominate in everything I chose to do, work or play. As this attractive formula for the good life began to succeed, according to my then specifications of success, I became deliriously happy. But when an undertaking occasionally did fail, I was filled with resentment and depression that could only be cured by the next triumph. Very early, therefore, I came to value everything in terms of victory or defeat, all or nothing. The only satisfaction I knew was to win. Only through utter defeat are we able to take our first steps towards liberation and strength. Our admission of personal powerlessness finally turn out to be a firm bedrock upon which happy and purposeful lives may be built. 176.
Ooh, wow, we got a big jump here.
Yeah.
Here goes. 176, domination and demand. The primary fact that we fail to recognize is our total inability to form a true partnership with another human being. Our egomania digs two disastrous pitfalls. Either we insist upon dominating the people we know, or we depend upon them far too much. If we lean too heavily on people, they will sooner or later fail us, for they are human too, and cannot possibly meet our incessant demands. In this way, our insecurity grows and festers. When we habitually try to manipulate others to our own willful desires, they revolt and resist us heavily. Then we develop hurt feelings a sense of persecution, and a desire to retaliate. My dependency meant demand, a demand for the possession and control of the people and the conditions surrounding me.
Okay. 265.
265.
Neither dependence nor self-sufficiency. When we insisted like infants that people protect and care for us, or that the world owed us a living, then the result was unfortunate. The people we most loved often pushed us aside or perhaps deserted us entirely. Our disillusionment was hard to bear. We failed to see that though adult in years, we were still behaving childishly, trying to turn everybody, friends, wives, husbands, even the world itself, into protective parents. We refuse to learn that overdependence upon people is unsuccessful because all people are fallible, and even the best of them will sometimes let us down, especially when our demands for attention become unreasonable. We are now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves, just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us do and humbly rely upon Him, does He enable us to match calamity with serenity. And then our last reading, 320.
Running the whole show. Most people try to live by self-propulsion. Each person is like an actor who wants to run the whole show and is forever trying to arrange the lights, the scenery, and the rest of the players in his own way. If his arrangements would only stay put, if only people would do as he wished, the show would be great. What usually happens, the show doesn't come off very well. Admitting he may be somewhat at fault, he is sure that other people are more to blame. He becomes angry, indignant, self-pitying. Is he not really a self-seeker even when trying to be useful? Is he not a victim of the delusion that he can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if he only manages well? All right.